came into the world with main character energy, as the Gen Zs would say, right?
Main character energy. Is that what you guys say? The main character energy.
Main character energy, right?
Wow.
You know, the day I was born, a medical record was broken in South Africa, and I was all over the news. I came in with like all of the energy.
Yeah, you were born famous.
And, you know, for me, that has always had a profound impact on me as a little girl, because I always thought to myself, geez, like, I was a miracle baby. I've always been a person that thinks about the future a lot.
Okay.
And I would look at a situation, and all my ideas, my concepts, my creative outputs was always a few steps ahead.
Sure.
Using that empath side of me, that sensitive side of me, and that served me very well when I entered the marketing industry.
Say more.
The marketing industry is psychology. It is understanding human behavior. It is learning how to engage. It is really also paying attention to patterns, free behavior, considered behavior. Then comes the digital side, which is very analytic and really understanding how those two worlds marry. And science, you know. So I almost felt like this is full circle for me. Technology is here, humanity is here, marketing is the place to play.
Sure. Hello, I am Dr. Maanda Tshifularo, and on this week's episode of the SuperLead Podcast series, we are joined by a leading voice in futurism, culture, and human-centered transformation. Carmen Murray. She is the futurist cultural forecaster and the founder of Carmen Murray Communication. And in our conversation, we explore her journey from a life shaped by groundbreaking medical innovation to becoming a global advocate for authentic intelligence, ethical leadership, and the partnership between humans and AI. Carmen, welcome to SuperLead Podcast.
I am so excited.
Same here.
This energy. I mean, if you were here, I don't know where my camera is, but if you were here, you would feel it's palpable.
Oh, lovely. So, Carmen, it says you're a futurist, a cultural forecaster, and a transformation strategist. Before we get to this person, here in this podcast, we have time, right? We want to just hear your story. If you start us as early as possible, who's Carmen from the beginning?
Wow, that's a deep question. You know, I've actually been reflecting a lot about it lately, looking at the state of the world and where we're at. So I came into the world with main character energy, as the Gen Zs would say, right?
Main character energy. Is that what you guys say? The main character energy.
Main character energy, right?
Wow.
You know, the day I was born, a medical record was broken in South Africa, and I was all over the news. I came in with like all of the energy.
Yeah, you were born famous.
And, you know, for me, that has always had a profound impact on me as a little girl, because I always thought to myself, geez, like, I was a miracle baby. My mom's first husband passed away.
Sure.
And when she was married to him, after 3 kids, she said, listen, I'm going to get sterilized.
Sure.
And when she met my dad never had a child, and he was like, he wants to have a child. And in those days, there was no such thing as you can get your sterilization reversed. You need technology, innovation, science, like a whole thing. So they thought, let them just like go and try it out and see if there's a possibility. Lo and behold, there was experimentation that was happening in Belgium, America, Canada, and in London.
Right.
And they said, well, it's never been done here. It's a very complex operation. Let's try it and see if you fall pregnant. 6 weeks later, mom was pregnant.
Oh, wow.
And here I was. And you know, that moment, I think for me, is really interesting about where we are today. Because science, technology, innovation at the frontier. Technology was the enabler, human was the deliverer. Human guided it. It took the sacrifice of my mom in order for me to be here. She's gone through a lot to have the operations, etc. And so I've always been fascinated between this play between technology and humanity, and I've had this interesting passion for it. However, in my later years, I started becoming very curious about sterilization. And what I've learned is something very interesting, is that sterilization is also the billboard of eugenics.
Yo, so those are big words.
So eugenics was used in World War II. When you had a disability or you were a certain race, you got disposed of, right? And so what was happening is people of color, women with disability, indigenous people, and people that were poor were sterilized where they don't have the option to be reversed, so they don't have children.
Sure.
And that autonomy and agency was taken away from them. And so look at where we are today. We've got two forces, two futures unfolding. There is a future unfolding where there's control, surveillism, coercion. And then on the other side of that, what we have is hope, dignity, and innovation for hope.
Sure.
You know? And if I look at that paradigm, how the technology and the innovation that was happening with my mom and to bring me to life was literally, here was a technology used for agency, and the other one that was used in an evil way. And there's a counter to it. And somebody came up with the innovation to reverse that.
Very good.
And
Very
so
good.
I think that's where we're at. It's like there is a lot of technology emerging.
That can be used for bad.
Yeah.
And still can be used for good.
And yes, it can still be used for good. And I think this is the choices that we have to make as leaders, is what side of history you want to be right now. And this is why the time that we are moving in is what I call the new renaissance.
Right.
Is where, what are you going to give birth to? Okay. What is the new reinvention?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, good. We're going to come back to the Renaissance and the reinvention. But now I want to hear from day two. So day one, you are you are famous, miracle, science, humanity come together, and you're this miracle child. So from day two, just walk me the journey to sort of where we are today.
So I've always been a very curious, sensitive little girl. And sensitive in a sense of I didn't really understand my sensitivity. Like I could blush or I would feel the pain of the world. I wasn't allowed to watch the news. My mom was very strict with me. I wasn't even listening to music or all kinds of stuff because I could really get amped up because of it. And, you know, as you get older, you numb yourself a bit, you know, you're like, oh, you know, I'm not allowed to cry, I'm not allowed to be emotional, etc. And so in my later years, there was a lot of me that I've suppressed.
Sure.
And, you know, you don't realize it, but I still felt like I'm the normal person, I'm authentic, I'm everybody who I need to be. And, you know, my career pivoted. I've always been very much the career. Like for me, I started off going into, you know, hospitality. And there I learned.
So you finish, you do your early years, matric, and then?
So I go and I decided, listen, I'm going to actually become a forensic auditor.
Right.
So I studied and I decided, oh, this is great. And then I realized, oh my gosh, it's the most boring job ever. I'm never even going to get a degree because I was doing it through UNISA.
Okay.
And one of my friends said to me, Carmen, don't you want to come to the ships?
To the ships?
To the ships.
Okay.
And 2 months later, I'm on a plane and I'm in America.
Okay.
The place that gave me my birth, right?
Yes.
I'm an American. I was working there for 4 years.
In the ships?
On the ships. Can you believe it?
Okay.
And you know, something that really stood out to me is 70 nationalities on one ship, right? Their countries are at war with each other, yet everybody managed to get along on the ship. And it showed me that peace is possible and that, you know, anything is possible. Anyway, I've learned so much through the hospitality industry. It was so good to me. I came back to South Africa and I started my career still in hospitality, working in the bush for 4 years. My family always said to me, like, you're never going to survive it. And I did. And so that was the beginning of me connecting to that sensitive girl again.
Say more.
Understanding human behavior.
Right.
Paying attention to human behavior. I've always had this thing where I can look at a person's face and 10 years, 20 years from now, I can still remember that face I saw. It's like these weird things.
What a gift.
So
I can see someone now, and then 2 minutes later I go,
I don't remember the names. I don't remember all the names, but I can remember facial expressions.
Oh, wow.
And so the signaling that is coming from people's facial expressions, and I've always been very good at that, but that has been a catalyst moment for me, is using that empath side of me, that sensitive side of me, and that served me very well when I entered the marketing industry.
say more.
And the marketing industry is psychology. It is understanding human behavior. It is learning how to engage. It is really also paying attention to patterns, free behavior, considered behavior. Then comes the digital side, which is very analytic and really understanding how those two worlds marry. And science, you know. So I almost felt like this is full circle for me.
Beautiful.
Technology is here. Humanity is here. Marketing is the place to play.
Sure.
And so that was always fascinating. But I've always been a person that thinks about the future a lot.
Okay.
And I would look at a situation, and all my ideas, my concepts, my creative, outputs was always a few steps ahead.
Sure.
When I've executed campaigns, or when I had brave clients.
Brave clients.
Brave clients,
Yeah.
very important.
Yes.
When I had brave clients, the campaigns just shot through the roof, and we would have double-digit growth, and it was really becoming so fascinating to learn about technology, the tech stacks, custom experiences, and all of the things that we do. And with the podcast, eventually, just before the pandemic, John Flismus, I don't know if you know John Flismus, so he is a former comedian of South Africa. The two of us started a podcast outside of my other podcast called The In with the Outsiders.
Okay.
And
In with the
outsiders,
All right.
like really two misfits, two very different people coming together to have conversations with people. And I've always loved Faith Popcorn.
Faith Popcorn.
She is world-renowned futurist, the top futurist in the world. She's got a 97% accuracy, very respected in my industry and marketing, etc. And I just loved how she could see patterns. And, you don't understand how this woman does it. Like, she's just like they call her the Nostradamus of marketing.
Jeez.
And so I watched that, and I was like, wow. And I said, I'm going to be brave, John. John says, what? I'm saying, I'm going to contact Faith Popcorn. I'm going to try and see if I can get an interview with her.
Okay.
She said yes.
Oh, wow.
And you know what else she did?
Yeah.
She said, I'm actually in South Africa next week.
Oh, wow.
And she said, you want to care to come and join me for dinner?
Yo.
And then the next whole day I spent with her. And then she said to me, I said to her, I feel like I have a fairy godmother. And she says, well, I will be your fairy godmother. And I became her protege.
Oh, stunning.
And so she's really been such an important role model for me. She's taught me a lot, but also, she and I often talk, and she would say, and I'm like, I don't know, futurism comes with such a burden. But then in the middle of the pandemic, when my father passed away, I went to go and study numerology.
Numerology.
Okay, so it's like astrology,
Okay.
but this is with numbers.
I see. Okay.
And I did it because there was a lot of reasons to try and understand my father, etc., because he had a thing with numbers. And I took a whole year off to go and study it. My whole world opened up. And how you are able to see your whole life through numbers. From a little girl, all the things that you've forgotten, all the things that have happened to you, it's all in your numbers.
Sure.
And when you start looking at it in the present, you start seeing, wow, this is accurate.
Okay.
And then when you start looking at what's happening in countries in the world and what's happening around the world, this is indigenous knowledge systems that has been suppressed by so many. And when you start looking at why does this exist and we don't talk about this, my whole world opened up to understand that this thing that we always shame is used in our technology. Benefits law, where we detect fraud. It sounds esoteric, but in the end of the day, it sits in everything that we do in our predictive models.
Sure.
And the zeros and the ones. And there was actually like in benefits law from 0 to 9, there is like patterns in the numbers. And so when I learned all of this, I couldn't look at life exactly in the same way.
Sure.
And the strange thing is, while I was doing that, is I just had all of these opportunities where people started calling me a futurist before I called myself a futurist.
Okay.
Like it was that way around. I was like, I'm not going to call myself. I would say more a cultural forecaster.
Yes.
And trend analysis, analyst. Sorry,
That
trend
one.
analyst.
That
And
one.
anyway, long story short, I was then asked to by the citizen to predict the outcome of the 2021 elections. I was like, what? Are you mad? How?
Yeah.
No. Oh my gosh, I am going to lose my credibility. Literally had 8 weeks, and all I had to do was read behavior.
Right. English, please. What does that mean?
Meaning how you respond to something on Twitter or on social media, what you are saying, what is the the sentiment behind what you're saying, positive, negative, or neutral. Working with AI, and really there's another word which is big, which is ethnography, which is the studying.
Ethnography.
Which is the ethnography, which is the study of human
ethnography.
behavior, but on the internet. And it's big data structures and looking at how these behaviors are all patterns, and then coding it. And I had an 80% accuracy
Wow.
with the prediction rates. And that is just when it started, like a catapult effect. And I was just like getting all these amazing opportunities. And obviously coming in with a very different edge, because I haven't been formally trained to be a futurist, like future studies perspective, but I was a protege of one of the most wonderful futurists. But I also studied then my postgraduate diploma in management practice at Henley Business School,
Lovely.
plus numerology.
Yo.
And you know how change happens?
Same-o.
Same-o.
Yeah.
I've
Right.
got all this knowledge, now what?
Yo.
My mind has just been opened. How do I integrate all of this into my life? And so that is where my journey, my journey of my highest version of myself happens. They call it the first 40 years of your life is research. The next 40 years of your life is implementation.
Okay.
And your prima materia is your research, right? It's all the experiences that you've had and living life to the fullest. And your magnum opus is your greatest work.
Okay.
And so my magnum opus appeared to me, I believe, through the integration of change and of knowledge being opened up to me.
Sure.
And if you think about it, that's exactly what happened in the Renaissance.
I see. Right, so I'm still stuck on the first 40 years, Claby. in some instances, I was saying even the first. So what is Claby doing in the first 20? Is it 19 years or 20? So in the 20s, we are just collecting.
20s, I was just on the ships. I was in hospitality, serving people, serving in hospitality, and that's
the
marketing.
research.
Yeah, that's human behavior, and I think this is the key for me in terms of that particular industry, is really understanding humanity, how to anticipate needs, how to serve humanity, how to read when they're unhappy, when they feel ostracized, when they feel like, the whole world's against them. And also when people say things, but they do the complete opposite. You start learning pattern recognition. So our brains are just like artificial intelligence is mimicking us.
I see.
It's a mirror to us. And so we have these incredible brains that allows for us to see patterns. And so for me, I've always looked at the hospitality industry as a way to serve. I was always happy, was very much involved with events, etc. And if I fast forward to the life that we're in now, we're in the analog renaissance. And the analog renaissance is where people don't want to be online anymore as much as they used to. They want to spend time with people and go back to the 90s, how things used to be. And so that reminds me a lot about my days in hospitality events and how do I replicate what I've experienced there in my leadership journey with my community. So we've got a women in leadership community, which is over Yes, I counted the other day. We're actually 15,800 women,
way.
and I had 600 rand in my pocket to start it, and it's 2 years.
Wait, because there's a lot of conversations we packed. So I want to do Renaissance, and then your model there, and then we're going to do this women in leadership work,
Sure.
15,800
15,800.
women. So maybe let's start on this, on the women in leadership. What's happening there?
So, you know, when you go through this massive transition stage in your life, like the pandemic happened, right?
Yeah.
Then all of these things in between, where there's change happening in our lives and in the global south, and then there's also on the global scale. And I was just like, wow, things are changing. I've got a business, but now I'm completely changing, and not just who I am, but everything around me has to evolve with me. And so that was a very difficult journey, and I was like not sure how to integrate what I know, these two worlds, but I needed a place to play. And so I'm very passionate about women empowerment, purely from a perspective, because in my journey I've learned, when I got diagnosed, also in that same period, I got diagnosed with autism and ADHD. And when that happened, so that's why I'm like a squirrel when you talk to me. It's from one place to the other, right?
I love it.
We're in conversation. This is not a keynote.
Yes. We're in conversation.
So anyway, when I was diagnosed with autism, that was this big realization that I've learned how there was not enough research done on women. Women suppress autism. It shows up very differently in women, and women are not helped throughout this journey. And, you know, when you start learning about all the injustices that are happening against women, and we think, you know, I know that guys sometimes get like, you know, this is too much feminism for me to handle. But if you look at the world right now and what's happening, it's because we don't have enough women in leadership, because women lead differently.
Sure.
And I was like, I believe in that so much, but we need a place where we can gather. And I'm all about conscious leadership.
Okay, say more. What is
leading
that about?
from the head to the heart, and, you know, head, heart, and hand, and being so open, and, you know, leadership, management practice with Henley, and then on the other side I've got this numerology, and seeing the world through very, very different lens. I was like, I need to create a place of people that get it.
Sure.
So only way. Otherwise, I'm going to lose that authentic self of mine. So I want to explain to you authenticity.
Good.
Authenticity is not this thing where we say, I am who I am. What you see is what you get. That's not authenticity.
Okay.
I want you to think about a Russian doll, right? I take the big doll, open it up until there's this tiny, tiny, tiny little Russian doll. That's your authentic self.
Oh, wow.
You have to work your way backwards to get to the little doll. And that is what the journey of authenticity is. And if you look at society and where we are with artificial intelligence and how we have made relationships with everything outside of us, because we're running away from who we are as individuals.
Sure.
And so when I was diagnosed with ADHD, the first thing the specialist said to me is, she said, "You've been masking your entire life." And I was like, I'm the most authentic person. What are you talking about?
Sure.
And so I went through what I call authentic illness.
Sure.
Meaning, okay, so if this person is not who I am, who am I then? So what does this even mean? And so I started going on this journey to understand what is authenticity and how does it show up in us. And what I've learned is that it is the truest, most truest version. It's the version of you that is ethical.
Oh, wow.
It is the version of you that has such a strong value system and see eye to eye.
Sure.
It is the version of you that see the interconnectedness, not just with humanity, but with all things.
Sure.
But getting there is hard work.
How do we get there? That's what's the book of my mind.
Often, and I'm busy writing specifically on these, these topics. There's two options you have in life. Either you're changing or you're choosing.
Okay. Say
Yeah?
more.
Yeah. If you're changing, that means I just acted in a certain way that I didn't like. What can I do to change that? Where is that coming from? Or I'm going to a psychologist and I'm starting to work through all of these things and learning a lot about myself. I'm going on retreats. I'm going where I take myself out of my comfort zones to try and face myself. That's hard work in itself, but not everybody has the discipline to do that.
Yeah.
A lot of spiritualists, Buddhists, those kind of people really take it seriously.
Yeah.
What often happens is we go through a core quake.
Core quake.
The core of you.
Yeah. Starts to quake?
So it's like an earthquake, but to the core.
All right.
And what often happens is change, for me, is when the truth is revealed.
Okay.
And that is a decision that you've almost been split open.
Yeah.
The truth has been revealed, whether it's somebody that cheats on you, or that your job doesn't exist anymore, or that you are no longer need to work here, you have to move to another country. That's when the core quake opens up the crack.
Sure. Sure.
And when that happens, like this trigger, there's so many triggers, and mostly
Or a health scare.
or anything like that. What happens there is that is the moment you've been summoned to go within.
Okay.
And many people run away from it.
Sure.
So if we look at the pandemic, how many people just like skimmed through it like
And
nothing has happened
Blocked
and
most of that
suppressed
memory.
it. But what happens is that 95%, if you think about it, the ocean and all if you look at nature has a lot of the answers that we need. 95% of the ocean has not been discovered yet.
Sure.
Because it's so toxic and they can't go down into the ocean deeper levels, and it's so uncertain, it's so dark. The same is with us. Our subconscious minds steers our conscious.
Sure.
And so you need to get there, and it takes an event
Sure.
to open you up
Okay.
if you're not changing all by yourself, because
I see.
authenticity is a discipline.
Yeah. Okay.
But in order to get there, you really need to get in touch with yourself. And so I define authentic intelligence.
Yes. You have a framework, authentic intelligence.
Yes.
Let's unpack that.
So the framework is based on this. Authentic intelligence, for me, the definition of that would be, is finding the inner truth of who you are as an individual and how you express that into the world.
Okay.
Okay.
Inner truth and how you...
And outer truth.
Yeah.
Because if I am as close to that little version of me and allow that light to shine,
Sure.
that's where the power is.
Okay.
But what people do here is let the ego shine
Sure.
and not really who we are.
Yeah.
And so what, for me, that little version of ourselves is just two things.
Okay.
I call it spiritual intelligence
Right.
and emotional intelligence.
Okay.
So if we look at emotional intelligence, there's three states of minds. The one is survival mode.
Yeah.
We as a society is continuously surviving.
Yeah.
If you look at the Maslow hierarchy of needs, we are always here in physiological and safety. That's where we're playing at the moment as a society.
Sure.
So whatever you do here is flight, fight, or freeze. Hang on, like, what is those things that we're seeing? Burnout, people withdrawing. That's all survival.
Oh, because we are here.
Yeah, survival. The other state of mind that we have is emotional. And that emotional state of mind is all about, I want to be seen.
Okay.
Who am I as an individual? And that usually relates to when you were a child, because your personality is shaped when you were 7 years old. So identifying with your emotions. And we as a human race don't like emotions. We run away from it. We drink pills for it. We use substances. We do whatever we can to run away from our feelings, right?
Yes.
Human truth. But I'm going to tell you one future state that you're not going to like.
Okay.
There's two futures unfolding. There's going to be those people that are going to be able to control their emotions by regulating, being aware, doing all of that. And on the other side, they have already got patents and technology that you will pay a subscription every month to have them control your emotions for you,
Sure.
where you can regulate it,
Sure.
intervening with your dreams.
Sure.
And that's a very scary world, to put that in the hands of people that are not ethical.
Sure.
And that's the world that we're moving in. And remember in the beginning I told you about my birth, control, coercion, and on the other side
Hope.
you've got hope and truth and dignity. To move back into emotional intelligence, the emotional part is the part where I feel we always gets very much stuck between survival and emotions. But emotions is not a bad thing, because emotions is your teacher.
Okay.
And to learn from it. But we run away and numb it.
Yes.
But the third one is executive state of mind.
Right.
That's when you think detached, not with the head, with the heart.
All right.
And you're grounded. And in reality, people that sit on boards, executives, very serious people that sit in politics, making decisions on war, not operating from that space.
Sure.
They're operating from fear and emotions. Hurt people. And not from the executive state of mind.
Sure.
And so when you are operating from these two, you're helping to create dystopia, a very horrible future. All of the things that we are seeing is our inner chaos being exposed in the world. And so those two things, spiritual intelligence, which is your values, your honesty, your integrity, it is the consistency, the discipline, it's understanding the interconnectedness, your purpose, all your intuition, all of those things together with your empathy is where you discover your inner truth.
Sure.
That's hard work.
Yes.
That's not easy work.
Because that's I'm like.
And you can walk the most righteous path in your life. You have not arrived there if you have not dug very deep within that 95% of your subconscious mind.
Okay.
And there's ways of how you can learn about the connection between your mind, body, and soul. There's many interesting, teachers that you can go and see, etc.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's a lot of work like journaling and getting access to that. But when we take that and we get to the truest version of that part of us, the other five would be creativity.
Okay.
So what we innovate and what we create when we operate from that higher self is we create the most amazing things. Like with my birth, like the reversal of sterilization, innovation that brings hope and dignity. And if you look at creative intelligence, it is the fact that we are now society think that creativity is only sitting with tech. You know, it's a tech thing. It's not a tech thing.
Yeah.
It's a human thing.
Yes.
We all have it.
Yeah.
And so
Even accountants.
Even accountants, everybody's got it. But the thing is, we have lost over 90% of our creativity, even I think it's 98% of our creativity by the age of 40. We're more creative when we're children. So we need to get back into the playing space and learning to play and hold two different worlds, because what creativity is chaos. It's holding very negative things that's happening in the world and very positive things that's happening in the world. And when you bring those two together, that's when creativity births a new reality, new renaissance, which we'll get to. The other one is community, which is collective intelligence.
Good.
Because the machine is community, really, because it's all of us are programming it.
Yes.
It's
and
everybody's
all the
mind
data
living.
and
We need to start learning how to look each other in the eye, working together, thinking like polymaths, bringing our different perspectives into the world. But what's really happening now on the horizon, the Edelman trust parameter for 2026 stated that 70% of people are suffering from what they call the insular trust mindset, which means that I don't want to work in a department where my boss is different to me. 48% of people are asking to be moved to a different department, or people are going, I don't want to work with you because you're not the same color, or you from Israel and I'm Muslim. There is those kind of things that we are seeing even in our research on our side, that more and more people don't want to work with each other because it's almost like sovereignty. I'm sovereign of my tribe and where I come from. And that's a very dangerous place to be.
Sure.
Very dangerous. And so as leaders, we have a responsibility to bring the different people into the room. And I know we hear it a lot, it's very cliche. Like if you bring different people in the room, you're going to have big innovation. That's not the point.
Okay.
The point is that when you bring different perspectives and different people in the room, and I'm not talking about a tech person, a person from the CX department, you bring a philosopher into the room, you bring a historian into the room, and then you bring your department, and you bring futurists, all of these people into the room, and you say, okay, right, here is the uncertainty that we are dealing with. What are we going to do about it? That is what, for me, collective intelligence looks like. So we've built quite a community of polymaths, of people that are very different, very smart, over 4,000 of them. So that when we do activities for looking at where life and society is going, that we can tap into that.
Sure.
Collective intelligence.
So creativity, collective intelligence.
Yes. Next one. So we've emotional intelligence, spiritual intelligence, collective, and creative.
Yeah.
The next one is culture intelligence.
It's called?
Culture intelligence.
Culture intelligence. Okay, cool.
Now, this is a very interesting one for me because culture is subjective, meaning that feelings interpret everything. Remember, we spoke about the emotions. Everything is integrated. Emotions determine how things are going in society. Data is what's objective.
Yeah.
It's this or that. When this, then that, and this is the shift. It's the human interpretation that brings the nuance, that brings the difference.
Okay.
And so when we look at culture, the zeitgeist of the culture, when you have your spiritual intelligence and emotional intelligence in order, how you shape culture changes.
Okay.
And so what's interesting about culture is culture goes where women go.
Culture goes where women go. Say more.
85% of the global spend is influenced by women.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So if they decide they're not going to support you anymore, and we'll talk about that when we talk about trends.
All right.
But if they decide they're not going to support you because you're not sustainable,
Yeah.
you're in trouble.
Wow.
And when you make them angry, you're in trouble.
Okay.
Also, on the other side of it is marketing shapes culture. Because marketing is the mirror of culture. And so that for me is very interesting when you try and understand those paradigm shifts happening within culture and how subjective and objective it is. And the nuances that you need to pay attention to, because emotional intelligence and spiritual intelligence impact how culture is shaped.
Sure.
And how people absorb things and how they view the world. And so there's always this split of people that are very dark and very light, and very interesting nuances that are happening. So those are the three C's I called it.
Beautiful, beautiful.
But the next one is curiosity, which is learning intelligence.
Yeah.
And that is the ability to learn, relearn, and unlearn.
Yeah.
Now, the 7 deadliest sins of leadership is ignorance.
Yeah.
I don't want to know. Or I've been raised in a certain way, I don't want to know. Myopia. Short-sightedness, making decisions for 3 months from now, not caring about what happens 3 years from now. That's where we are as a society because of our KPI sitting in 3 months rather than 300 years. If you look at Japan, I think they have a 100-year plan.
Sure.
Where we are as a society chasing profits. Short-term thinking. The next one is abdication, which is not taking responsibility for your actions when you haven't leaded well. The other one is cowardice.
Sure.
When you know what's the right thing to do and you don't do it. I'm trying to think of the other one, which is all about, I can't remember the sixth one.
I think we can work with these ones already. Yeah.
And then there's the power. It's the abuse of power.
Sure.
Which is I always want to benefit myself. I don't care about the rest. And then the last one's corruption.
Sure.
And corruption is when I don't use my power for the duty that I'm supposed to do. And power for me is split into two things, which is the power of love or the love of power.
Oh, wow.
Those are the two options that you have.
Sure. So I'm looking at the clock and it's gone fast. And I'm curious. So when does an executive pick up a phone and say, no, or in the meeting go, I think we need a futurist in here?
Yeah.
At what point in the meeting do they arrive at that? And what will they benefit from having a futurist in the room, such as yourself?
So look, from my perspective, if you want to crack an egg from the outside, it means death. If you want to crack an egg from the inside, it means life.
Wow.
So there is a lot of uncertainties that are happening in the world right now, and it's making leaders very uncomfortable. And usually when you look at it, it's your steeples. It's the social, technological, environment, political, etc. But you have to see that as a fire sprinkler, right? Distributing and sipping into all of these things we discussed in authentic intelligence. It's sipping into that. And what we go in to do when we get to clients is we are there to say, okay, right, what is the trends happening within your organization, where we go through your implicit data, your explicit data, your behavioral data, etc. And what's the patterns that we are seeing, to see where trends are happening within your organization and see how they match with the external world, the good trends. But then there's the external trends that are killing businesses. And what are they? And what do we need to do about it? What do we need to know? I think that as an organization, if you do not have a trend analyst on your side and you're not continuously monitoring what is going on out there, unbiased, you're in trouble.
Sure.
Because it's a tennis ball effect right now. There are so many things happening. Like, I can give you a few big trends that's happening now.
Yes, please.
Corporate unrest.
Okay. Meaning?
It's an unrest targeted towards corporate organizations. So let's say a CIO, right, decides we are going to invest in a particular tech stack. Your consumer is doing the following. They take your annual report, your sustainability report, put it in ChatGPT, put their value system in there and say, if a company is doing business with these companies that I'm boycotting, let me know, because I'm not doing business with them. And that's happening here in South Africa. This is not just a what's happening over there thing. There is the movements, the boycott culture. There is review bombing, where people will get their communities to go and review bomb against the company so that you can't perform online, that your customers can't find you through the algorithms. Information has become democratized. We have consumers that would go into carts and pretend to do shopping, and then they get their whole community to do that. And so that automates advertising to close the advertising spend. There is a lot of interesting things that are happening. And as an organization, you can't no longer just sit there and say, it's the normal knowns. Sure. There's so many unknowns happening. And to build resilience, it's important. I also think that futurism is not just about what's happening with executives. I think that's the part that where we focus on is everybody should become a futurist right now, because we all have the natural instinct to think about the future. The only problem with our brains is that we create the future from the past.
Okay.
So we can't imagine, and futurism helps you to imagine. So when clients call us in, it's not just only to say, let's do trend analysis and let's see what's happening in the world, but it's also teach my people and how to become an army of critical thinkers, and to also do predictive analysis, and not just doing it through a machine. The most dangerous place for any leader is to make big decisions behind a desk.
Okay.
You gotta move into the field, leave your desk, go and have conversations, drive an Uber. That is important.
Wow. So that was trend number one. It was a little bit scary. Trend number two?
I would say trend number two, which is very interesting for me, and I split the our work into, I call it the new renaissance, right? And the new renaissance, you see AI in there.
Yes, and,
There's a 2 there next to it. And the
yeah.
renaissance is authentic intelligence multiplied by artificial intelligence equals a fortified future, a better future.
Yeah.
And the signals that comes from that is the controlled coercion, the negative trends.
Yeah, and then
There's the renaissance, the rebirth of humanity, and the reinvention that is happening. And that is the part that excites me. And one of the trends that we're seeing over there is elephant companies.
Elephant companies.
They call them elephant companies, but what they essentially are doing is they're not building digital first companies, they're building human first companies.
Okay.
And it's people that are building businesses for profit, but it's about coming together in community. And we're already seeing this trend with entrepreneurs, where entrepreneurs are creating these interesting consortiums where they are extreme specialists. They've got AI agents doing work for them as their employees. The AI agents are their employees. Everything is automated, and then they bring their minds together to create disruption. And so we as individuals are going to become corporates. As an individual,
I see.
You're going to become the business.
Because you've got the agents.
And I don't think that corporate competition in the future is going to be corporates. I see it as singularity. They're going to have to merge at some point. And we, as the people, are going to create very different businesses that will potentially compete with organizations.
Right.
Because the agility sits here.
Rather than in big...
Look at the Renaissance, the reason, the innovation, the creativity, the art, the science, everything that exploded, how happened outside of the system.
I see.
It didn't happen within the system.
I see.
Because it was too restricted, too slow, too controlled. And that is why I think that that's a very interesting dynamic that is starting to happen on the ground. And also our careers are going to become more portfolioed.
Right.
So I'm not just going to be a CIO, but I'm going to be a CIO, maybe a life coach, and I'm going to be a podcaster, and I'm going to be an author, and I'm going to do charity work.
Yes.
But what's interesting for me about this is that people are going to start becoming very serious, like they were in the Renaissance, about solving problems. So they didn't know anything about the problem. They would just literally go in and say, I see this problem, I want to solve it, I want to learn everything, and they take the T-junction, deep information, and then generalist information, and then they go and solve that problem. That's what Leonardo da Vinci did, all of these, polymaths from the Renaissance, and even Benjamin Franklin. Like we've seen them all across timelines.
Lovely. Wow. And then some of the... I'm hoping to hear some more trends, but unless if we want to keep them at those 3.
Okay, I can give you a few more.
At least 2 more.
Okay, at least 2 more. So I think one of the trends, well, I wouldn't even call it a trend. I think it's a very dark period that we're heading into, is the breakdown of trust.
Okay.
And you and I, and as leaders, are going to need to become trust brokers.
Okay.
And we're going to have to become very good at collective intelligence and bringing people together in unity. Because out there, it's divide and conquer. So let's divide, keep the people divided so we can take what we want and take what we need. And so we as leaders need to start having a different mentality, because in organizations, which is very important to note, is we are sitting with little nations.
Okay.
Little countries in our organizations, 10,000 people or 100,000 people. And there is an opportunity to drive massive change, and corporates are very, very good at that. So that is one of the trends. And then I'm just trying to think of something that's a little bit off the beaten track. I think the other one, as I mentioned, is analog renaissance. I talk about analog renaissance as people that are going offline a lot more. And this is interesting because when I went through my sabbatical for 1 year, just completely disconnected from my phone and from the internet and all of that, something amazing happens to you when you do that, because you're not as anxious, you see the world through different eyes. What I think that is going to change humanity like you cannot believe, because that's where consciousness lives, where they start becoming extremely curious. Analog renaissance, I think, is also interesting, where we've seen trends, because we do a lot of offline research, where people don't trust the internet anymore, that they're writing books by hand that they will not publish online as a community to make sure that wisdom stays clean and supreme for future generations. That to me is fascinating. And that tells me that companies need to start thinking about marketing sovereignty.
And that means what?
My database, how do I create community out of my loyalty database? How do we build community? How do we start building something that is pure? Because of all of the boycotting that's happening against tech companies, there's so much tech migrations happening by consumers. So we used to say, oh, we're just going to advertise to Facebook, Twitter, etc., etc. You know, the
big ones.
The big ones. But now people are going, I'm having an intranet developed for my community. So people are developing their own little intranets, and companies are going to have to do the same thing. To manage and to build community. It's offline and online, that hybrid communities. That is going to be very important.
Sure.
And the future leaders are community leaders, the future influencers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. We got a few more minutes left. When someone has been listening to us here, I wonder what sort of one or two things to say. Here are 2-3 things you may want to consider to go start doing from this conversation on.
Build the ark, and they will come.
Okay.
As a futurist, cultural forecaster, I'm very inspired by the ark and Noah's attempt to build it, because when scholars reckon that it took him 50 years to 100 years to build the ark, it differs from scholar to scholar. He had no idea when the rain's going to come.
Sure.
He knew there's a future unfolding where the ark will be necessary, but he had no idea when it's going to happen, and that day did arrive, right? Yeah. And so when you build community, when you are building a better culture within your organization, or you trying to build better leaders, build the ark and they will come. Don't hold on to leaders and toxic cultures and not do that dream or do that thing and think, oh, I'm never going to succeed. Just start, because when you start, momentum builds, and that day will come where success will find you, and the right people will come across your path. That's my biggest thing. And I think the second thing would be study something that is not in your belief system.
Wow.
Study something not to be conveyed,
Okay.
but to see if you've been taught the right information about that thing you've always been told not to do.
Wow.
Because in there, I can tell you, your mind will be changed, because you will see how interconnected everything is. So study something, take a course in something that goes completely against your value system.
Wow.
Not to be like transformed or to change, but to learn something so that we can have compassion with one another.
Oh, very good. Very good.
So I'm busy reading a book, Wake Up, by, I can't remember his name now.
Yeah.
I can't stand him. That's my, you see, I told you, I remember faces, not like, oh my gosh, I can't stand him.
But you can...
But I'm reading it because somewhere in our humanity, there is something that we have in common. So there must be something interesting that I can find there. Because if I want to be a critical thinker, I need to be able to engage opinions that are different to mine. So read books also of people that are different to you, or people that you don't like. That is important. And the last one, I would say, as a leader, assumption comes from the head. When you make assumptions.
Yeah.
Understanding comes from the heart.
Wow.
And so if we want to understand ourselves better, we have to be kinder to ourselves. If we want to build more harmony amongst each other, we have to have the bravery and the courage to lead audacious inside out, from boardroom to living room.
Sure.
By doing that, by having an understanding to learn from each other within our community, what we are currently doing is like this Friday, I've got a Shabbat. My first Shabbat I'm going to.
Wow.
We've got a Hindu festival coming up where we've been invited to, and where people out of the community say, I want you to come and experience these particular things. And I think that is so important, so that we can have compassion and understanding and see the beauty in the ritual and in what makes culture. And that is why culture intelligence for me is about really understanding culture from that level. I don't know your language. I can't speak your language. You probably don't know my language, and vice versa. And through the language, that is where you also have enlightenment. And the biggest frequency of energies that you have is enlightenment, love, and authenticity.
Sure.
It's the biggest ones.
Sure.
So if you can achieve that, then, and do things to help you activate that,
Sure.
things will go well.
Oh, wow. Right. I don't know if you've got a book recommendation?
Book recommendation.
Because I feel like you made a recommendation already of, let me go study or read a book of something
that's Wake Up, that different. Wake Up was about cancel culture. I would say, sure, you are really asking me now a question, because I'm an ADHD reader, so I have like,
you can hoy any.
I've got many books that I'm reading, but I think for me, the book that I'm currently reading is about polymathy. I can't remember the title, but it's about how to study and to learn like a polymath. And I'm really enjoying my journey with the Renaissance and finding ways of reinventing myself and helping people reinvent themselves, their businesses, etc., for this new time that we're moving into.
Lovely. Carmen, thank you so much. What an insightful conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Carmen Murray in the studio.